All right, so we're having the Chaos Cast today. This right now we are. Let's see here. Let's get this news story up. Try to get it where I can see everything that's going on. 3 Washington businesses were targeted with explosive devices as hooded suspect is on the loose. So this is coming from the Independent. You got the Metropolitan Police released surveillance images of the suspect dressed in black trousers and a white hooded top, as well as a vehicle wanted in connection to the attacks. I believe, if I'm not, this Fox 5, this is saying police bikes, torch, squad cars were smashed. So I'm believing this happened. I'm not sure if this happened in D.C., if this is something that's added on to that. Explosive devices were detonated outside 3 businesses in Washington, D.C. in the early hours of Sunday, according to law enforcement. The devices exploded outside stores in the northeast of the capital within 15 minutes of each other, according to the Metropolitan Department. The first attack occurred around 4:30 a.m. when the suspect detonated an explosive device on the sidewalk outside of the ATM attached to the Truist Bank on the 2300 block of Washington Place. Moments later, at around 4:36 a.m., another device was detonated outside of a Nike store on the 700th block of H Street. After fleeing the scene in a car, nearby Safeway grocery store was hit with a Molotov cocktail-style object at around 4:45 a.m., police said. So this guy, within about a 15-minute span of time, they bombed and Molotov cocktailed 3 different places. Says the businesses were closed at the time of the incident and no one was injured. So it's not your terrorist attack where somebody's trying to kill a bunch of people and trying to hurt them. It's just possibly domestic terrorism, and they didn't want to hurt nobody, so they did it prior to the stores opening. But yet again, this is D.C. This is our nation's capital. You have a lot going on with our political elite there, with literally everything going on in the world. Embassies are there, and so you just got some person roaming around, bombing the heck out of everything. Let's see. It says the MPD said in a statement that the perpetrators appeared to have targeted commercial establishments, but not members of the public. So this could be, this could be an anarchist. This could be, somebody that, like an environmental terrorist that, doesn't agree with these businesses. This could be somebody that maybe maybe that ATM didn't give them their cash. The Safeway didn't have their coffee creamer, and the Nike store tried to jip them sold them some fake Nikes. I don't know. Yeah, maybe some bootleg seller was selling fake Nikes at the back of the Nike store. He's like, you got me some fake Nikes, man. I'm going to bomb you. But there's just more distractions from Hunter and Joe's family finances. Yeah, you do have a lot going on with Joe Biden. It's been said that the WhatsApp conversation with the Chinese business, they're saying that was a fake. And it's not going to be the first time people have bought into some, fake attribute of a story, just trying to get some kind of evidence. So we don't know. They're saying it's fake. But we'll look at that in a second. What the world sees. We're going to look at Al Jazeera. I like to look at what the world sees. Hey, Melody, thank you for sending me that mic. I appreciate that. Could be the Proud Boys, or it could be. I mean, really could be. You don't really know at this point. You had the guy that went into comic ping pong said he was going to try to save the kids. Is that story with Eastgate true? We don't know. I do think there's probably a lot of elite people that are pedophiles because that's just what history shows us. And as nations grow bigger, people just think they can get away with anything. But, will people take things into their own hands? Well, obviously. The vehicle is a gold champagne colored Acura TL with Maryland license plates. And the license plates are 17971CK. Well, they should know who this is by now, or at least, where the guy's at. Picture shared by 32-year-old DC resident Amanda Goski on Twitter showed damage to one of the targeted structures. The noise woke me up. I had PTSD, so when it happened, I kind of froze up, and originally I thought it was gunshots. When I looked through my window, I saw glass shattered, so I originally thought someone had shot at the bank. Miss Koski told The Independent. Miss Koski, who works as a political consultant, lives in the apartments above the Trust Bank. She said the neighborhood was eerily quiet before the MPD and the fire department arrived at the scene. So you do have the Twitter post from Amanda Koski. You can go look at that original. It has a picture of the all of the fire department. We're gonna have this, streaming live on our podcast. So if you go and join our podcast, or go download our podcast, you can go give me a follow on Spotify or most of the podcast platforms that you are subscribed, that you listen to your podcast on and subscribe to, and you'll be able to see, different pictures that we're bringing up, different articles. You do have a Twitter post from the MPD. When I was a kid, you got your news from the television. Now, most people get their news from podcasts, Twitter posts. And so somebody's like, that's some news you got off Twitter. Okay, so that's probably either a boomer troll or something saying that. Most of your news outlets are online. I have a friend that always says, that's that internet stuff you found. I said, like NBC? Yeah, NBC's got internet news. But this is the actual DC Police Department Twitter post. And again, this is the Independent we're looking at. MPD and ATF Washington seek the public's assistance in identifying suspects and a vehicle in reference to destruction of property offenses that occurred on Sunday, July 2nd, 2023 in the district. So, yeah, and they got their release on that post. Metropolitan Police Department's Criminal Investigations Division and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. Finally, the ATF is like doing what they were created to do instead of trying to harass regular citizens. And Explosives Washington Field Division are seeking the public's, I just had to throw a little bit in there, are seeking the public's help in identifying suspects and the vehicle involved. A reward of up to $20,000 is being offered to anyone who provides information leading to the arrest of the individual or individuals behind the Sunday attacks. Now, we're talking the nation's capital. We're going to need a little more than $20,000, at least $100,000, at least $250,000. You're talking about all kinds of people are in trouble. And if you're watching the podcast, you'll see this TMU hot tub, like the smallest hot tub in the world for sale. It's probably $15. It's just $15. Of course, I like shopping on TMU. I get all kinds of stuff off there. I got a lot of good camping stuff. It says anyone who may have any information about this incident, to include video or photos from any of the offense location, are encouraged to call MPD. Now, that is one of the good things about technology is just the ability to shoot video, take pictures wherever you're at. We got Lisa Ann in here. Good to see you, Lisa Ann. But yeah, it's wild how we can just do these things. We can just go in and take pictures, shoot video footage. We can document what's happening in real time. Where used to, you had to wait for people with heavy, camera equipment to come in and video it. So that's a good thing. So probably somebody caught this guy or knows who this guy is with that license plate been on there. So that wasn't the only thing that happened in Washington, D.C. this in the last few days. So now we look at, this is from Fox. This was like the only mainstream news source I could find. There was a couple of local news sources, but there's more probably than just Fox, but it was what popped up with a bunch of other things. But it says White House grounds evacuated after Secret Service discovers unknown item. So the United States Secret Service said the road closures around the White House have been since lifted. So they've lifted the road closures, but there was an incident. I think it was called cocaine hydrochloride is something that's used in the dental industry for like pain, I believe. But yeah, they found a whole suitcase of this. So the White House grounds were evacuated Sunday after the U.S. Secret Service discovered an unknown item. Uniformed division officers located an unknown item on the White House complex, a U.S. spokesperson told Fox News Digital. As a precaution, the White House grounds were evacuated and the D.C. Fire Department's hazmat team responded, spokesman said. So goes on to say a hazmat team was called out to the area of 18th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. Secret Service units blocked off roads around the White House. The Secret Service did not provide more details about the unknown item. All road closures were later lifted, the spokesperson said. Now, let's see here if we can go back. At dc.gov, I think they got a video we'll pull up that shows some of what's happening. Wait a minute, no, that is a okay, DC News Now. That's what it is. I went to the wrong one. I remember looking at this. This is like, I think, a local one. Let's see if this one's the one that had the video. We'll show you. We'll play that video. Probably have about 10 commercials before you get to see it, but we'll see what happens. All right. So we'll let that commercial play for a minute. But yeah, so that's a pretty big deal. The White House has a hazmat situation going on. I figured they had some kind of technology. You wouldn't just have to rely on the Secret Service to find a suitcase. They would have something that could sense, some kind of chemical, unless maybe they had it, like some kind of barrier to keep it from being sensed. Oh, the .com is hazmat incident at White House. Secret Service cordons off White House. But I mean, it shows a lot of your hazmat vehicles, your fire department. Your fire department's usually going to handle a lot of your hazmat issues. They'll come in suits. Again, Twitter, Rawls alerts, Twitter posts showing. Let's see here. It does that. So we got the Daily Express. Let's see what they got. The grounds of the White House in Washington, D.C. were evacuated on Sunday when the United States Secret Service called in hazardous materials specialists to deal with an unknown item. Secret Service units blocked off roads around the U.S. presidential office residence, while a D.C. Fire Department hazmat team was scrambled to the scene to investigate. The scare was sparked by what was described by the Secret Service as an unknown item. I'm starting to think this was another burger right here. There was one I read earlier about it being cocaine hydrochloride. Not quite sure why they would be delivering a dental. I don't know why they would be delivering a dental medication to the White House. Maybe Joe's got some bad teeth they having to work on. He's been alive for 80 some odd years. He's been alive way too long. Let's see here. All right. And so finally, we're going to look at what Al Jazeera is talking about. Al Jazeera is kind of a worldwide news outlet. This kind of just gives you an outlook of what the world thinks about us, what the world's seeing when they look at us. Hey, Bells, good to see you. Let's see here. All right. In the White House, eager to distance itself from allegations of nepotism, corruption, and grifting, Hunter Biden is a problem that simply won't go away. U.S. President Joe Biden's 53-year-old middle child has been a persistent source of the wrong kind of attention for the first family, with questions swirling over whether he used his father's office for personal gain. The latest chapter of the Hunter Biden saga came on June 22nd. Getting tired. When a WhatsApp message was released by a congressional committee investigating the presidential family. The message allegedly from Hunter Biden to a Chinese business associate showed him berating the associate in July 2017 when Joe Biden was a private citizen and former vice president. I'm sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled, Hunter Biden allegedly wrote. As a message continued, Hunter appeared to threaten the business associate. If the Chinese end of the deal was not fulfilled, he wrote, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge that you will regret not following my direction. The message seemed to counter claims from White House officials and President Biden himself that he had no involvement in his son's business activities. When reporters asked on Wednesday whether he was sitting in the room when Hunter sent his message, President Biden replied, no, I wasn't. When asked again by Al Jazeera, White House counsel spokesperson Ian Sams denied Biden had any involvement. The president was not in business with his son, said Sams. But it has become increasingly difficult for the White House to minimize the glut of stories that have emerged from Hunter Biden's business dealings. That was apparent as a briefing on June 23rd, the day after the WhatsApp message was released. Both White House Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre and National Security Council spokesman John Kirby faced a frustrated press corps eager to find out more about the Hunter Biden text. When Newsmax reporter James Rosen read aloud the message and asked whether it undermined claims that the president never discussed his son's overseas business dealings, Kirby tried to shut down the conversation. Oh, Lord, I'm getting tired. You're going to have to pray for me. Dear Lord, help me, Jesus. Help me not to be too tired. I'm not going to address this issue from this podium, Kirby said. He then promptly left the news briefing. It's not an unreasonable question to ask, Peter Baker of the New York Times later said, as he pressed Jean-Pierre in a tense exchange over the WhatsApp text and Rosen's questions. Hunter Biden has been a problem for a very, very long time, says Eric Kam, a political analyst and co-author of the book, The GOP Civil War. The president is very sensitive about criticism of his son. He'll argue, which is why the people around Joe Biden are hesitant to really say anything. I mean, this stuff we pretty well kind of know, except for this leak of this WhatsApp. But I mean, of course, Hunter Biden he's been problematic. He's faced a lot of felony charges here recently. Let's see here. I pulled up this little bit of an article about. It turns out in Delaware advised my legal counsel also yesterday that they're investigating my tax affairs. So Hunter Biden was saying, when was this? This was back in 2020. He was already talking about they were investigating his tax affairs. So everybody's claiming pretty well saying Hunter screwed up, but it wasn't Joe. So who knows? Who knows? I don't really care. I mean, you can't trust politicians. You just can't. They may start out good, but then they go up there, and most of the time, I'm not going to say all the time, they get sucked into that game and they get corrupted. Yeah. Washington's had a lot going on, not just politics. It just seems all kinds of weird things are going on. Also, one of the things that you keep hearing about is people testing the air from this smoke that's supposedly coming from the Canadian wildfires. And people are talking about finding, vinyl hydrochloride, testing positive. They're finding it in the air. They're finding, formaldehyde. There's a lot going on with that. So if you got any information, hit me up in the DMs and we'll talk about that. We'll look at maybe getting up an episode about that. Usually put that stuff on the podcast because, it's always speculative. And the speculative stuff I just put on the podcast because we do the news, then we do little stories here and there. We do documentaries. We talk about different things. We have our guests come in. But, yeah, that was the news today. Again, you had a lot going on in D.C. how they hadn't caught this hooded individual, I'm not sure. But yeah, they're just rolling around throwing out bombs and Molotov cocktails. I mean, it could possibly be Antifa just mad at the corruption, which doesn't surprise me. We got a lot of other things that are happening. You had a shooting in Baltimore at a block party. You had 2 dead and 28 injured in that shooting. Police officer suspect dead after shootout at Southern Indiana Hospital. Dang. Now, France has fallen. 40,000 police mobilized after all heck breaks loose out in several French cities. Now, there's a car driving through a store, sports car driving through a store. Yeah. Fires.
This is 7. And this is what much of France is looking like right now, as a lot of anarchy is breaking loose across the country.
I mean, we've been saying this for months
several
here.
Different reasons. A lot of different situations have been stacked on top of one another, but they're saying that this is worse than the situation in 2005. Right now, police stations are burning. Schools are being
What isn't in there exactly? How you doing,
buddy? All over the place, and there's 70 big fires ongoing. That's not counting cars, garbage cans, and everything else. Now, this unrest, so to speak, is spread out far and wide across the country, and there's
done hit it.
Vehicles burnt down. This is after
that's wild. Burnt vehicles
of what they call riots ongoing in the area.
Maybe what we seen in D.C. is the beginning of protesting this happening in America. Who knows?
Every weekend since lockdowns began, the Yellow Vest protests, and they have done more in that country in terms of rising than most other countries. The people rising to the occasion, but there's different people now rising for different reasons.
Everybody's mad in France.
Reform protest that was going down.
How you doing, Rico? Good to see you.
Now they're saying that this most recent has to do with a large group of the Muslim population because of a police killing of a 17-year-old during a traffic stop on Tuesday. This was of an immigrant, apparently Muslim here, and this has sparked massive unrest in the midst of all this. So this time around, they're saying that a lot of this chaos is being sparked and driven by the migrants that are torching absolutely everything. There's clip after clip.
So that's a little bit of what's happening in. It's going to tell us a little bit about nuclear plant evacuations.
This is the radioactivity environmental monitoring map of the European Commission. What it does is it aggregates data from a variety of different radiological sensors that are spread throughout Eastern.
Gotta love Canadian Prepper. He's always got something good on.
Real-time readout of what the exposure levels of radioactivity are in any given region. As of now, at around 2 p.m. Mountain Time here in North America, it is looking like 99.9% of species are within the realm of healthy dose of exposure under 200 nanosieverts per hour. The reason why I'm showing you this map is that if the events unfold as projected based on the growing volume of empirical and anecdotal evidence that I'm about to share with you today, these types of maps are going to become commonplace. They're going to gain in popularity, and you're going to see maps like this all over the news. Now, today on the channel, what I want to do is I want to further enumerate all of the data points that I brought to your attention in the car video that I did a couple of days ago.
The King family, good to see you, bud.
A few videos, and we're just going to list off all the bullet points so you can see with your own eyes why it appears as though something
good to see you, bud.
Being cooked up, whether it's by the Russians or the Ukrainians. I'll leave that part for you to decide. I have my speculations about that. First, I'm going to list off the data, and then we're going to break it down, and we're going to try to weave it into some fine tapestry of speculation as we typically do. Now, again, I'm saying this stuff because I want people to be aware. I want you to be ahead of the panic curve. I don't want you to panic, which is why we try to put two and two together, and we try to constellate exactly what might be happening here. So we have Zelensky's Rivne address. Zelensky appealed against the backdrop of a nuclear power plant. This was just yesterday, and it's important to know that all of these data points are from the last week. This is just from the last week and is ratcheted up in terms of its frequency, intensity of the message as of late. So we have evacuations as of today on July 2nd. This news just came out an hour ago that 100 personnel were evacuated from the power plant. These personnel, of course, are required to work the power plant. Now, it's unknown as to whether or not these people have been evacuated due to the fact that there's not as much to do anymore because the reactors have been shut down, or is it in anticipation of some sort of incident? Who knows? Zelensky has issued repeated warnings that have increased in intensity that Russia is planning something in his previous nightly addresses for the past week. Okay, every night he's talking about this. You also have Ukrainian intel corroborating this, saying that the risk level is the highest ever. You have a U.S. resolution that was proposed just a few days ago by Lindsey Graham and Senator Blumenthal, who said that if there is any radiological incident, be it the detonation of a tactical nuclear weapon or a incident at a power plant, any of the 5, or I think there's 4 power plants, nuclear power plants in Ukraine. This is the one we're talking about, just in case you don't know what we're talking about. There are 6 reactors on the now drained reservoir of the Dnieper River. So if there's any incident,
I think anybody's crazy to launch a nuke at them here.
Involved in this conflict. Permanent evacuation of places
I think
16
on nukes getting
permanent
launched.
Evacuation within 16 kilometers
But will they do it?
nuclear power plant. It's important to know also that in and around
I believe we're going to see some kind of nuclear activity eventually.
Significantly down as a result of the dam being blown, meaning that it's much easier to come.
Can everybody hear this pretty good through all the other apps?
I would presume you probably need.
You can't go follow us on
vehicle, but it's more cheap.
Spotify. You can go through Anchor. We got a link to our Anchor.
U.S. nuclear.
We got it embedded on our website. You can go watch it there. We'll have this up hopefully tomorrow.
Was sent to this area. This is called the Constant Phoenix.
Try to have some clips up on YouTube
of that in operation. We have the Ukrainian civil defense and emergency teams conducting heightened amounts of CBRN and training and drills, and they've made this very public.
Yeah, the whole world will be starting shooting back forth. How you doing, Boy Scout? Good to see you. I didn't know you was in here, buddy. I didn't know you'd slipped in. Good to see you again.
People on stretchers, but know that it is happening. Energoatom is also doing 2 days of exercises. That is the Ukrainian nuclear agency that oversees all of their nuclear facilities. So they're conducting their own exercises.
Yeah, Zelensky.
Been
I can't stand that guy. Does anybody really like Zelensky? I mean, he's always. They said he took $500 million from personal expenses out of some kind of funding that they got a hold of. So I mean.
Now, the IAEA has said that this is not a concern, that there's enough water on hand and the ability to pump water for up to 6 months so that the lower water levels as a result of the dam being blown are not an imminent threat to the nuclear situation. But of course, that could all change when you throw in.
So that was it right there for that I was going to pull up. And we'll look down through here and see what else we can find. Now, my kids of the Buffalo Brothers, my kid and his friend, they've been making videos for YouTube, and y'all go watch that on YouTube. The Buffalo Brothers, they go and explore. They went out. So if you don't realize it, here recently you've had IRS has been raiding gun stores. The IRS agents have went in raiding gun stores and confiscating their records. Since when does the IRS have anything to do with firearms? That's wild. I knew it was they were going to have something. They were hiring 80-something thousand IRS agents so that they could do something to do something about taking guns. So they're going to say you owe money, and what's the most valuable thing in most average Americans' homes? Firearms. But that's going to be it for today. Thank you for joining us on the Chaos Cast. We'll try to have this episode up. We're going to do another one. We'll try to have up about Antarctica, some stuff, wild stuff we've seen on Antarctica. So y'all be watching.